Welcome, GTS retail partners, to the next installment of our Vendor Spotlight series. Today, we're featuring Critical Kit, which is a GTS retailer exclusive, so only available to retail through GTS distribution. Tim Roberts is joining us today. He is the author of two fantastic RPGs that are, well, actually, one of several, two in particular that are already in our system and available for order. That's Be Like a Crow, in which players take on the role of corvids in various settings available. There's also a number of expansions, including a Cthulhu-themed Crow Thulu, Fistful of Feathers, and now Tales from the Crow's Nest, which is on pre-order now. So that should be releasing here soon in the next month or so. And then also Be Like a Cat, which is the feline equivalent of Be Like a Crow. Different mechanics involved. He'll talk a little bit about this game in our interview. So without further ado, I'll push that on. But actually, with ado, I'll let you know that these are excellent little books, very inexpensive and affordable for stores to get a hold of. They are solo RPGs, so as you can see there, they've got spines that you can put out that have the titles on them. And then also there's a number of zines, which are smaller books that aren't quite as shelf-friendly, perhaps, to display because they don't have that name on the spine, but they are excellent couch strap sellers. If you put out a shelf that has a number of zines on it, you'll get some attention there as well. Zines make great retail products, mainly because they are so inexpensive, easily accessible, great for a night of fun for anybody who's doing RPGs, whether they're doing solos or they can get some of the zines that are more geared towards a larger group. So that's some options for you. Now, without further ado, let me turn it over to Tim from Critical Kit to tell us more about his games.
Hi there, my name is Tim Roberts. I am the owner of Critical Kit and I'm also the lead writer here, and I'm going to tell you about some of our brand new games. We are an award-winning independent publisher of TTRPGs, and we've got some new stuff coming out in the immediate future and some great stuff coming out in the long term as well. I'm just going to share my screen now. Okay, so here's what we've got coming out soon. This first game that we have got coming out in September is called Punk is Dead. It's a Mork Borg compatible songwriting TTRPG. It is set in a dystopian future in the Ununited Kingdom. One of the things we've been having a lot of success with retailers and customers alike is describing it as Scooby-Doo with mosh pits. It is basically a game in which you play a punk band touring around the UK, and invariably you will come across little missions and quests that you have to do whilst you're playing gigs and writing songs. So as I said before, it is set in the Ununited Kingdom, which is a fantastical version of the United Kingdom with different realms in it. So you can play in different genres as you travel around the 5 realms of the UK. The book is in a 7-inch vinyl hardback size. It is a hardback book. It's in the game, the rules actually reward songwriting mechanically. So there are no rules for songwriting, but the players are encouraged to write songs as they tour around. And they are even encouraged to bring instruments to the table if they can. You can play one of several different types of band member roles, including some hip-hop roles. So we have guitarists, we have singers, we have drummers, keyboard players, and we also have some hip-hop roles, which are breakdancers, DJs, and MCs, and all of those award your players different types of skills they can use throughout the game. It also includes a starter scenario called London Falling, which is loosely based on the Clash album London Calling, where you will have to go and rescue a punk band that has been captured by literal corporate vampires. So I'm going to show you some of the artwork from the book now. The artwork is in the style of Mork Borg, insofar as it's very eclectic, although it does also match the sort of UK-based punk aesthetic. So as you can see, we've got very kind of eclectic artwork. The track list is actually the contents for the book. We've also got this map of the Ununited Kingdom. Each of the 5 realms is described in detail. They all get their own double spread. So every section of the book has one of these amazingly designed double spread art pieces. So it's also a great coffee table book, is this as well. As I said, here's one of the roles we've got, which is the guitarist. And here are a couple of the monsters we've got. So I will warn you now, there is a little bit of swearing in this book, but so we have got the Bastard, who is an evil sort of vampiric creature, and we have got the literal corporate vampires. But there's about 16 other monsters available in the book. So that is that's our Punk is Dead game. That, as like I said, is out in September. There's also a number of accessories available for it. The most prominent of which are the Punk is Dead band manager screen. All of these accessories are made in exactly the same Pantone colors as the main book. The pinks, the yellows, and the blacks are all exactly the same, so they all complement each other perfectly. The Punk is Dead band manager screen is actually printed by a record company in the UK. It is a 7-inch gatefold vinyl, and it does have like little slots in either side where you'd normally put the vinyl, where you can put like expanding like bits of card where you can either show the players what they might be up against. You can show them a map of the United Kingdom, or you can just use it as it is. We've also got these amazing sharp edge dice. These are exclusively created for Punk is Dead. Again, using exactly the same Pantone colors, so everything matches throughout. So this is one of the games I'm most excited about. We've had so much interest in this. The Kickstarter that we did absolutely smashed it, and yeah, it's already a big seller, and it's only going to be a bigger seller going forwards.
So Tim, with Punk is Dead, is it sort of like you mentioned it's a post-apocalyptic or a future apocalypse? Is it set in like our future, or is it more like what would have happened if the apocalypse happened during the punk era, like the late 70s, early 80s?
Yeah, so it's kind of it is set in a world that's probably stuck in the late 70s and the early 80s. So it does have a lot of the things that are around then. So there is no internet. There is pirate radio. There is a big musical movement going on, of which you are obviously part of. But what's kind of happened is that because the premise behind it is that the war, the final war has ended because all the bombs are gone. And what has actually happened by all those bombs being released, it's messed with the atomic structure of the universe, which has allowed a lot of weird and strange things also to creep in. So not only do you live in a world where you've got the remnants of a society from the 70s, you've also got a lot of creatures that have crept in from other universes to kind of witness the end of a world, to get front row seats, so to speak. So each of the realms you play in is divided up into different genres, which makes it quite interesting because you can string it together like a series of one shots, but play in different kinds of world. For instance, in the southeast of the UK, you've got a very kind of 70s London, which is now run by literal corporate vampires, but pretty much like the world we know now. Whereas to the far west, you've got more of a dark sort of fae type world, which is actually run by the old Queen of Avalon, who is supposedly King Arthur's zombie wife.
Hmm.
The middle of England is very sort of industrial and steampunk, and then further north than that, you get more like kind of a Mad Max setting in the Grim. And then far to the north in Scotland, you have what we call the Fern Jungle, which is just basically an overgrown part of the UK where you can find all manner of strange things.
Awesome. Sounds great. I'm really looking forward to that. There's a rich mythology to draw on from uh, that part of the world. So sounds like you've definitely done that. And then on the
Yeah.
dice, are those silicone or are they a different material?
These are resin dice, so
Resin.
they're actually cast in resin, so they will be molded, from resin, hand finished, and then obviously we've got the exact colors like the Pantone pink, and then the yellow match exactly everything. The books, the band manager screens. Anytime we use those colors in the book, they will be the exact match for that.
And it looks like you've got some mica or some glitter inside of them as well.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we do. So we put some like thicker chunks of silver glitter just to give them like a little bit of life. So when the
Perfect.
light hits them, you'll get different sort of glints of color.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that dice do not photograph well because I imagine as good as these look on this page, they look even better in real life.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do. So these are the prototypes. There's only actually about 5 sets of these in the world, but they are in production now, so there'll be quite a lot of them. But yeah, it's they do look way better on. We have the same thing all the time with dice, you know.
Yeah.
It's until you actually get them out there and see them. I'll move on to Be Like a Cat. Yeah, so yeah, this is Be Like a Cat. You might be aware of my previous game, Be Like a Crow. This is a follow-up to it, to my award-winning game, Be Like a Crow. So like Be Like a Crow, this is a solo game, but it also has baked in three two-player modes. So you can play without a GM, collaboratively, where you're working towards the same objectives, competitively, where you're working against each other to try and beat each other to get this the same set of objectives, or you can play with one player as a GM and one player as the cat. So the base scenario for this is the urban scenario. So in the urban scenario, you are basically a cat trying to explore the world and take over as much of it as you can. What's interesting about this game as well is that you can actual creating your character or your cat is part of the game. So when you're playing it in journaling mode, as you create your cat and build its skills up, you're a kitten and you are actually journaling that process as well. So it's not just a case of creating a character and then moving on to playing the game. It's all the whole experience is about playing the game. Um, you can play as a stray, feral, or domestic cat, so you've got a lot of replayability because you can switch up what you're playing each time. But also in this game there are 5 different settings. So, like I said, the base setting is urban. That does actually have just an objective of taking over as much territory as you can. However, you have also got some other scenarios which include Brave New World. So in that scenario, you're actually a cat in a virtual reality world, kind of like the Matrix. And what you're trying to do is steal secrets, but you can also find cheat codes. There's also glitches. Um, there's also the Book of Bastet. So the Book of Bastet is set in an ancient Egypt where you play a cat in a temple. You're searching for your sister, and what you do during this search is you have to collect scrolls that you find in the temple, and these scrolls actually give you more and more power until you, well, I won't give away any spoilers, but yeah, they have a big impact on you as a cat. We've also got a Perfect Storm, which is a pirate themed one where you're basically exploring an island, also getting on ships and collecting treasure, and also trying to ward off like rival gangs of cats and rats who are also in searching for treasure. And finally, you've got Star Paws, which is a little bit of a nod to Alien insofar as you're on a space station. There is an alien presence on this space station, and there is only one escape pod left, but that's broken. So not only do you have to avoid the aliens, you also have to try and find all the components you need to get off, fix the escape pod, and get off the space station. Um, Unlike Be Like a Crow, this uses D6, so it is a completely different system. The D6s do everything from generating the world that you're exploring to, doing skill checks and generating the encounters that you have. It is an 80-page hardback book, so it's a really good quality book with beautiful light black and white line art all the way throughout it. And we do also have a set of official dice that go with it. So we have these D6 cat paw dice, which if you're a big cat fan, you can obviously use them to augment your game, or just for the sake of having some dice with some cat paws on it.
Excellent. Do you have any expansion plans for Be Like a Cat? I know you've come out with a couple of expansions for Be Like a Crow. So
We do, yeah. So the first one is being worked on at the moment. It's not being worked on by me, but it's been worked on by another writer, who's an absolutely great writer, an Italian from Mana Project, actually. And that's going to be a witch one. So we didn't hit the witch stretch goal, witch's cat. So that is going to be one way you're actually helping out a witch. You're helping to make potions, you're helping to lift curses, all kinds of things. I'm going out and finding the elements for those things.
awesome. I'm really fascinated by the idea of playing an RPG as a competitive exercise rather than cooperative. That's really an interesting element that I've not seen in other games.
Yeah, yes, it is. Well, I didn't know where to put it. It kind of it worked as I developed the thing. It worked. It just worked really well, and I wasn't sure whether to put it in because I know generally it's either solo or more commonly it's competitive role playing. But we do have the concept of battle royales in role playing games. I've written battle royales before, so they're I think every now and then people like a blowout, with their friends and just to try and like get a bit competitive and beat their friends at things.
Nice. And then the idea of playing Jonesy on the Nostromo is a really intriguing one as well. I look forward to that.
Yeah. I mean, you can obviously play any cat you want, but I am going to assume that a lot of people are going to want to try and you know use Jonesy as inspiration.
Yep. He's an inspiring fellow, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the next thing. So the next thing I wanted to talk a bit about is early on in my writing career, I used to write a lot of one shots for D&D. Now we have just started reprinting all these one shots. We've got several available at the moment, but we'll also have a lot more ready in the next few months. So I'll go through some of the ones I've got at the moment. So these are the most popular ones. Lady Travant's Bones is it's an adventure with two rival factions of Drow that used to be they used to be united. Now they're not. But the party are basically hired to go into a tomb. They both worship Lady Travant. However, her tomb has been entered by a necromancer, so the party are hired to go in there because it's sacred ground. Then the Drow are not allowed to go in there. So that's one. That's a really popular adventure of mine. Quite a serious one. The next one I'm going to mention is Long Night at the Spur, which if you want something a little bit different from regular D&D, this is a Western kind of a micro setting because it does have a siege adventure in it where you help an old orc rancher defend his ranch from a band of cowballs. But it's also got a setting of like a Western setting with loads of little descriptors of the areas you might find. So if you want to expand it out from just being a one shot, it's a good jumping off point. The next thing that we have, sorry, I've gone too far there. The next thing we have is the House of Cursed Things. This is getting a little bit more down the good fun one shot. As dark as it looks, the House of Cursed Things is actually a real estate clearance game in which you are tasked with an elf has bought a house off a necromancer. However, he knows the house has got a lot of cursed things in it. So the players have basically hired to go in and clear the house out, which means they do have to get all the curses. Some of them benign, some of them a little bit more serious, but it does always end up in a lot of fun. And the one I should definitely mention, it's one of my most popular games ever is Macbeth. It's a level agnostic murder mystery set in the Feywild. It's basically it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like Cluedo meets D&D meets Shakespeare. And basically at the beginning of it, all your players are actors in a play, so there's a little script in the back of it. So they're kind of 2 levels deep into role playing, and then after the first act ends, it turns into a murder mystery, and it turns into a lot of fun. And then obviously we do have some more coming in quarter 3. The next one of which I'm going to talk about in a second when I tell you what's coming up with our newer games.
These don't string together as a like a campaign, but you could play them independently or kind of make it work.
Yeah, so you can. So what I mean, I am a forever GM. So one of the things that I've actually done with these is I have put them together in the same world. So if you want to basically use the same world, you can use my world or you can use your own world. It's very easy to transport these. Like for instance, if Lady Travant's Bone will go to the coast, the Long Night of the Spur, not as easy, but some kind of desert land. House of Cursed Things, you just need a house, and Macbeth, you just need like a Feywild area. But basically, I've got about another 8 of these that we're going to be putting out from my previous writing, and I've got a couple of new ones coming out, and they do all take place in the same world. So some of the names that are mentioned in them, key NPCs and locations do come up again and again.
And these also make great one-shot adventures for a group at the table. They make great in-store event books because you can run a one-shot based on or an event based on these books, and they're super inexpensive, very affordable,
Mhm.
very easy to use at a convention or at or at it, like I said, in a store event, or even if your half your players don't show up, you can always just run a one-shot adventure and have a good time,
Yeah.
not have your night ruined by somebody not showing up.
Absolutely, yeah. They are a great deal of fun for all those reasons. You know, if you just want to change from your campaign, or like you say, if people don't show up, yeah, they're great, and they are good for conventions. I mean, we've run them at conventions before. You can all of them as well are kind of in a 3-act structure. So there's a little bit at the start that you can actually cut off. So if you want to run a shorter session, you can run a 2-hour session if you want, or you can generally, depending on your group, you can make them into 4 hours and sometimes 2 sessions.
Excellent. I'm excited to see what's coming next.
Okay, yeah, I think you might know one of them, but some of them I think are new to you. All right, so in the pipeline, I mean, I do have writing projects right through to 2026, but these are the ones that are closest to being done. So the first one I'm really excited about. This is going to be our next one. It should be kickstarting sometime around September, and we're hoping to have it out maybe at the end of the year, but definitely in the first quarter of next year. So this is Wires in the Woods. This is a game where you play these strange little creatures in it's kind of a 1980s, but there's no human life left on Earth. There's no explanation for why. And these creatures basically they have emerged from somewhere and they are now looking at all the things we've left behind, and they're trying to solve their own little conflicts and problems with strange things such as pizza boxes, floppy disks, Walkmen, all the kind of paraphernalia you would have got from that time. It uses a system called the cart system. So you actually lay a grid of cards out in front of you and you travel around those cards, and the cards actually tell you what you find. Then a supplemental set of dice also tell you other things like the demeanor of the creatures you might meet, etc., and any conflicts that you might come across. So this is a game I'm really excited about. It's also illustrated by a guy called Simon Kurd, who is he's an absolutely amazing illustrator. So he's going to be doing all the artwork through the book, and additionally, we are having some minis. So there's 5 playable creatures in this book, and we're going to have little minis made for every single creature. So you can every time you play the game, you can use them as markers on the cards. I don't know whether you've got any questions about that one.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I did meet Simon at UKGE, and he was pretty amazing artist. I mean, the artwork that you've got here on the cover is amazing, and it just kind of scratches that zone where I don't know, it's just beautiful artwork, and I'm really excited about you working with Simon and getting a project like this going.
Yeah, we
Um,
sort of this has been in planning for over a year before we sort of even got started to the writing of it. So, and we've both been dying to get something done on it, and now's the time. Now's the time that it's actually happening. So, and his artwork, you're right, his artwork is very inspirational. Like I said, just over a year ago, I met him at a convention, and I saw his art. I bought a piece of his art, and then I actually ran off and wrote down on like a sheet of A4 paper some lore, because he told me he didn't really have any lore for this. He just creates these creatures because he enjoys drawing them, and I think it just sparked from there. We just said, right, okay, let's turn this into a game.
Excellent. And then
Okay.
you have the 2-player mode on this game. How is that going to be? Is that similar to be like a cat where there's different player modes, or is it
Yes. Well, so the 2-player mode on this one, there won't be a competitive. It will just be GM player or collaborative on this game.
excellent? That
Yeah,
seems
because we
great.
feel like it is a cozy game, but it's got a little slight dark edge to it, as you can sort of see from the art. So, but we also want to keep it um as a game where you actually play towards the same goal, because it also is, I suppose I forgot to mention, it is a game with a message. It's about upcycling, so it's kind of a bit of a recycling game. Do you know what I mean? It is, we're going to try and get as much of the book out there as we can as as an environmentally friendly product. Like with recycled pages, etc.
Mhm.
So it's going to be all part of the general vibe of the book.
Gotcha. And then are you, in terms of like size and how many pages, are you looking at this kind of like a be like a cat scenario where it's about the same length and size, or
Yeah, it'll be somewhere with it's coming in around about somewhere between 80 to 90 pages. It is going to be a hardback book though, because we really want it to be I think for the artwork, we want it to be something that is going to be durable. Is going to go on shelves, and people are also going to maybe want to just get out and have on their table, just have a flick through, if not to play, for the art as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things that seems a common thread between Punk is Dead and this book, as well as even Be Like a Cat and Be Like a Crow, have some pretty amazing artwork in it, and it's really evocative art. So you've done a great job with the art direction side of things on that as well.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I can't draw myself, but I will take credit for choosing the artist.
Yeah. And then having that hardback does allow a store to have the spine where you can see the title rather than some of the zines where it's just a fold over. You just don't
Yeah.
have as much information on the side to grab someone's attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to print this on a sort of thicker recycled paper as well. So it's going to be a good quality paper. So the book will actually be thicker, as well. So it's we're probably about if you know Mork Borg, it's probably going to be about the same thickness as that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good size. All right.
Okay. I'll move on to the next thing. So this is a zine game that I've got coming out, hopefully before the end of this year. So Deadly Nightshade is it's a murder mystery game, but you can play it two ways. So you can either, it's basically a game about regicide. So you can either be out to kill the king or queen in a court. It does use a deck of cards. However, in this game, you can either play the murderer trying to escape detection, or you can play the detective trying to find out who the murderer is.
Well, that's an interesting concept to play either side. Is it more procedurally generated or is like replayability wise?
There is replayability because it does actually. So it does use an oracle. Again, it uses a deck of cards, and it also uses it does use some dice, but it's mainly the deck of cards that are going to create the oracle and also create like major events, etc. So it uses it does use part of another system, um, but it's reworked by me so that you can play it both ways round, which I think is an interesting concept because I don't know whether players are going to ever try and attempt to do it like one person playing the detective and one playing. I haven't got the mechanics to work in that way yet. I mean, so
Hmm.
it's still in development, and if I could do that, I think getting those two things together would be really cool. But at the moment, it's more a case of you either play the murderer it's a solo, so you either play the murderer or you play the assassin, should I say, or you play the detective, and it's kind of set in, I would say, medievally Game of Thrones vibe. So I've only got one more thing to show you at the moment that I'm prepared to show you, because I do have other things like Corvus, etc., but I'm not sure when I'm going to have them out. So Once We Were Gods. So this will be out next month. It is a solo swamp crawl for D&D 5th edition. So it's actually a solo game for D&D. It works basically it works on a square grid. There will be a map with it. It's an A5 zine. And yeah, basically you play at level 5, you create any kind of character, and you move around a grid trying to find basically parts of a god that has been um cast aside, left for dead in a swamp. Now, what's really cool about this game, not only are you trying to like rebuild this god, so you have to find all the parts and bring them to an altar, but also what you can do with this game is you can actually build a pantheon with it. So at the start of the game, you can decide which god you're going to find, and depending on which god you're looking for, also depends on how the book plays out at the end. And I think that's all I've got. Yeah, that's all I've got for now. Unless there's
Excellent.
any other games you want to talk about.
Yeah, this has been a great look at future releases coming from Critical Kit. We're excited about our partnership with Tim and with Critical Kit. Lots of exciting and interesting and energy coming out of you, which is one of the reasons we sought you out. And I think it's been a great partnership so far. We're really excited about the future of it and looking forward to getting these games to the table as well. For retailers, Critical Kit is great because it's a low barrier to entry. It's a lot of solo RPGs, which are very there's a lot of interest in the marketplace now for solo RPGs, especially some of these cozier ones like Be Like a Crow and Be Like a Cat, where it's not so dark and doom and gloom all the time. And then you have Punk is Dead, which is kind of doom and gloom, but it's in a upbeat and an interesting and engaging setting. So I think you've hit a really good tone with that one in particular.
Yeah, there's hope. It's a bit controversial for Mork Borg fans because it's got hope in it, but you know,
You can only be hopeless for so long, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
All right, excellent. Well, Tim, I really thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. I know you've had a long day, and so coming to the end of it now is a time for you to get some rest. Oh, and I see Simon's artwork right there on the wall behind you, right?
I've got a lot of it.
Yeah, yeah,
I've got a lot of Simon's artwork. Yeah,
excellent. Well, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. Really
you're welcome.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you for spending your time with us today. We really appreciate everything that our retailers bring to the table, and we want to make sure that we are providing the most opportunity, the best products, as well as the greatest opportunity for you to succeed. With that in mind, like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the future content. And if you have some suggestions, you have recommendations or ideas that you want to share with us, please go ahead and reach out to us through the comments. We do read them, and then we'll get back to you as well. So reach out and say hello. Thank you again for your time. Until next time, we'll see you soon.